Hi, and welcome to Mrs. Pam Reads. We are continuing in our story, The Magic Circle by Katherine Neville. In our last video, Ariel, I had to think for a minute I just looked back. Ariel learned a lot from Wolfgang about her Aunt Zoe. She realized if Wolfgang mailed Zoe's manuscript to her, then whatever package Sam had mailed had not arrived. She also decided that she needed to hide the manuscript in these operational instruction binders at her work that nobody ever looks at. So like she took the manuscript apart and stuck a page in here and stuck a page in there, and till the whole thing was gone. She sat back down at her computer and she saw something on her computer screen she'd never seen before. And that is where we stopped because it's a visual. I have to show it to you. And we'll finish this section in this video, but there's a couple visuals. Okay, so remember, it was a symbol I'd never seen, like a giant asterisk half filled the screen. So I'll get you to the right, this way. Okay. There's the giant asterisk. And then there's going to be a little bit of reading, and I got to get on the right page here. And then there is the next graphic of a whole bunch of letters, looks like. I think it's going to end up being kind of a word find type deal. All right, so beneath the symbol was printed a question mark. How did this get on my computer screen? No one here in the office could have done it. I'd been right at my desk all day. I tapped a question mark into my terminal for help. The help screen gave me a message it had never given me before, and one I felt certain it wasn't programmed to produce. It said I should check my mail. I called up my message file, though I'd swept it out completely only a few hours earlier this evening. Nonetheless, there was one new document out there. I pulled the message up on the screen, and that was that chart with all the letters in it. It started to build across the screen slowly, as if there were a hidden hand within the tube itself, drawing the picture from the inside out. As the letters drew themselves magically, I watched with a kind of dazed fascination. Before it had finished, I knew, of course, who had put it there. It could only be Sam. At the laser printer beside my desk, I printed out a few copies to mess with by hand, and I studied them. Although I knew that the first rule of security was to delete an incoming encryption from the machine as fast as possible, I also knew Sam. If Sam wanted something destroyed at once, it would have been programmed to self-destruct when printed. The fact that it was still sitting there on my screen meant there were more clues contained in it, other than the sequence of letters themselves. In fact, I might already have received one, the asterisk. From my desk drawer, I grabbed 3 of those cheap, transparent government pens. I wound a rubber band to hold them together, then fanned them out in a snowflake pattern. Oh, like the asterisk. Okay. In the shape of the asterisk. I slid this across the page to see whether along any of the 3 axes, acrostic could be ferreted out. No luck, though I didn't expect any. It would be too simple a clue and therefore too dangerous for Sam to leave on my computer. While scanning this page of letters, I drew back for a few seconds. to get perspective. In breaking an unknown code, it's always a huge advantage if the person who encrypted the message is trying to communicate with you. And clearly, even more so if you happen to have been hand-trained by him, as I was by Sam. Right now, for example, I could make out some fair assumptions about the hidden message before me. Sam would never have sent it or any message via computer, which he hotly opposed as unsafe, unless the message itself was important or urgent or both. That is, unless it was something I vitally had to know before I left, as he knew I'd planned to for Sun Valley on the weekend. Even so, he'd waited all week to send it, right down to the wire, almost the final hour of Friday night. Obviously, he'd been unable to find another way to communicate and was therefore forced to use a method he didn't trust. This told me two critical things about the personality of the code he'd used. First, since he believed it might be vulnerable to the snooping of others, the code would have been many-layered, with red herrings dropped on every trail, costing time and labor to anyone else who tried to decipher it. Second, since Sam had taken a risk that must have been forced on him by time constraints and urgency, he would have to use a code simple enough for me to unlock quickly, accurately, and all by myself. The combination of these two vital ingredients told me that the key to this code must be something that only I would be likely to see. Using a ruler as my guide, I searched the page. The first clue popped out at once. There were two items, and only two on this page, that were not letters of the alphabet. The two ampersands in lines 12 and 16. I don't see them. Okay. Since an ampersand is a symbol for the word and, perhaps they formed some connections between parts of the message. Though this could be guessed by anyone, I felt sure that where the trail was, both the false and the true trails began. That is, in the middle. Okay. And I felt even more certain that I would find a clue for my eyes only that would tell me where to look for the place to branch off from the obvious path. All right, I don't see any ampersands, but I'm scrolling it quickly. I'll tell you what, I'll hold it up for you and show you, where is it to you? Show you what it's showing. I'm trying to find you. There we go. All right. So you can pause this and look at it and see if you can find any ampersands. All right. Anyway, I wasn't disappointed. The ampersand on line 16, I'm still looking, connected the words Scylla and Charbidus. Oh, there's Scylla. Oh, I see one. Ha. They're there. That was a red herring, not only because it was my private nickname for those rocks. Others might know that too, but rather because I'd told Sam I was going to Sun Valley this weekend, not Jackson Hole, to meet Uncle Laugh. But herring or no, it did tell me that the message I was seeking would explain where Sam would try to meet me this weekend. Thank God. There were a few other scattered messages that leapt from the page, like the one starting with Grand on line 14, saying he'd meet me Sunday at Grand Targhee, lift 3 at 4 p.m. But I thought it far more likely that Sam's real message would be buried in the crop of conflicting messages that branched from the other ampersand. And all of those dealt with places at Sun Valley. The ampersand on line 12 connected the two words valley and day. Backing up, it read from southeast to due north. Sun Valley and Sun Day. Then the bifurcations began and were difficult to follow. One said noon, after which I got lost in the maze. After a while, I found a backwards 10 and followed it around in a circle, reading 10 a.m., room 37. Fat chance Sam would be so complex just to deliver so simple a message. More complex by far was the word Eve that I finally found branching up from the ampersand. Its message danced all over the page. Sunday Eve at Lodge Dining Room, 8 p.m., wear yellow scarf, as if I needed to be identified by a flag. Besides, though Sun Valley lay near 3 towns, 2 mountain ranges, and miles of open skiable tundra where we might meet, I was sure Sam had said we should meet on Baldy, the ski mountain itself, because we both knew it so well. Given my armload of stitches and my current physical condition, I wasn't too anxious to clamp on alpines again, but it seemed I might have little choice. I was sure I hadn't encountered the right message yet. It had to be the one following the word noon. So where did it lead? I found the word met, which connected with a long passage that seemed part of a bigger picture, but the word didn't lead contextually into that sentence. I looked again. I found on, beside which were in and to. My eyes began to cross, even though I was now using my finger to trace the labyrinth of letters on the page before me. Just then, I found a real word, Toussaint. It was north from the word on and turned east and then south again, Toussaint, All Saints' Day. Though that was where my limited religious experience ended. Having attended churches in my youth only when Jersey was booked to perform at one, I couldn't recall whether that was near All Souls' Day or Carnival, neither of which fell within spitting distance of this coming Sunday anyway. And though all ski slopes have names, there wasn't a run at Sun Valley named either Halloween or Mardi Gras. As it happened, however, most of the slopes on Baldy were named for festive occasions. Holiday, Easter, May Day, Christmas, probably no coincidence. I squinted and studied the grid again. Now I'd spent an hour on this eye-crossing puzzle, and my starting to heal arm throbbed and itched like crazy. I was able to connect the word Toussaint with some words I'd found earlier, such as go and through. But then I was lost again. Damn it, Sam. Get to Toussaint, go through what? There were dozens of trails and lower slopes branching off those 4 I'd mentioned. But I took a deep breath, closed my bleary eyes, and tried to visualize the 3-dimensional layout of the mountain. For instance, if you came off the top of the chairlift at Lookout, which fed onto the 3 aforementioned slopes, all but Mayday, and if you then skied down around behind the lift, you'd be following a path that from a bird's eye view would very much resemble the way the letters that formed this message were laid out on the page. Indeed, even if I backtracked to the very beginning of the message, the words Sun Valley were placed on the page, if memory served me, at the same angle as the ski lift itself was laid out on the mountain. I knew I was onto something, so I kept my mind focused on the mountain. When you came off the lift, you dropped over a small ledge, then went through a wide mogul field. I opened my eyes and searched for the word mogul near where the field would be. It took a minute, but I found it, a zigzag pattern, exactly the way you would have to ski it, with the word field just after it. My heart started pounding. There was still some deciphering to be done, though. I had found the word down just after field, but I knew there were 5 other slopes branching off that mogul field, and I couldn't recall their names any more than I would have recalled the first bunch if I hadn't found Toussaint. All I ever recalled were geographical features, lift numbers, and where the lifts took you, and the levels of difficulty marked on each run: green, blue, or black, circle, square, or diamond. None of these seemed to help me here. I reminded myself how well Sam knew me. Just after the word down, I saw the letter B and traced it through a sharp switchback pattern that formed 2 words: black diamond. The black diamond run below the mogul field emptied out at the base of another lift. If I took that, I would arrive atop the next slope. I followed the words on the page just there. They read, then follow this path through. And the word then was going north. The word then going north was woods. Okay. Whew. Since the end of a word at an edge of a page meant exit, I assumed this was the end of the message and that it marked the spot where I'd meet Sam at noon on Sunday. So I could see the whole pattern now. I would take chairlift 3 to Lookout, ski through the mogul field, and take the early branch to my left onto the black diamond or most difficult run. Okay, let me show you all this. Ugh. This side, I think. There we go. What a mess of a message, huh? All right. Everything was simple, except for the steepness of the slope. If I happened to fall with my bad arm, this run I knew would put me over around the side of the mountain, away from the tourists, into the backwoods, where tracks were narrow and where markers left by Sam could be easily read by me. So he would feel safe to change them at the last moment, if necessary, to redirect my path. I felt highly proud of myself, deciphering all this from a 26 by 26 matrix, though I knew it was Sam who was brilliant, putting it into geographical context, only to be read by someone who knew the layout of the land as well as he himself did. Just as I was about to erase the matrix still looming on the screen, I remembered to hunt for another, deeper layer. I double-clicked my mouse on the asterisk to no avail. Then I tried the first letter of Sun Valley, and I finally clicked on the exit letter S in woods. Screen vanished at once and a message popped up. Oh, okay. This is not English, so keen gnosis of gnosis, signed Reg Ducoli. Reg Ducoli was an anagram of gray cloud, Sam's sacred spirit name, known only to me, just as were C.G. Loudure and Lou D. Gracie, and all other arrangements of letters of our names that we used to make up to dazzle each other when we were kids. So this meant that the other half was an anagram too, and contained the other half of the message from me to Sam. It was going to be a long night. Not all that long, actually. I was very good at cryptic anagrams, something Sam had counted on. The first word of his anagram was keen, K-E-E-N. which the dictionary at my fingertips told me was a mourning cry or lament for the dead. Highly appropriate considering that Sam was technically dead and that what I felt like doing right now, keening, even if I knew he was actually alive. The other word, gnosis, Gnosis, I knew meant knowledge, especially the secret, hidden, esoteric kind one needed in transformations. Once again, contextually appropriate to my genealogical bent, my career, and the situation in which I seem to have found myself while sitting in front of my computer just at this moment. The easiest and quickest way to decipher an anagram is to take all the common letters and sort them into clumps. Then see what words they produce in common. For instance, in Sam's 18-letter message, Keen Gnosis of Gnosis, there were the following numbers of vowels and consonants. E equals 2, I equals 2, O equals 3, F equals 1, G equals 2, K equals 1, N equals 3, and S equals 4. There weren't that many meaningful sentences that you could construct from a limited set. To simplify even those options, he provided 2 clues in the words keen and gnosis. If a keen was a lament or a moan, then it was a sound, a cry, maybe even music. And given that my mother and grandmother had each been among the top singers of her day, it was a good bet that by keen, Sam meant a song. With the letter set Sam had given me, there were enough letters to spell song, not once, but twice, which was all it took. Of the letters left over after borrowing from my crop of create 2 songs, I quickly spelled the words seek and in. Ergo, I seek in Song of Songs was my message. So that's what I would do. Oliver had the Book of Mormon in his top desk drawer, though there was no Bible. But good Lord, there were so many religious fanatics here at the site that they may even have had brown bag scripture readings at lunchtime. There must be a copy of the Bible somewhere. I dashed around a few offices until I found one. Then I flipped through the located book and I read the Song of Songs, which is Solomon's. It didn't escape me that this wasn't the only reference Sam had made to Solomon. The first was the Solomon's knot he'd hung from my rearview mirror, his first contact with me since being born again. Not feeling I really had time tonight to decipher the hidden meaning in a 7-page poem that had inspired zeal on the part of so many over the millennia, I slaked my immediate interest just by flipping to the last stanza. Make haste, my beloved, and be thou like a roe or to a young hart upon the mountains of spices. And I knew I must make all due haste to the mountain. Wow, that was a confusing section. That's the end of that section. The next one is titled Merry-Go-Round. But wow, that was a lot. I hope the pictures were clear enough for you to see. And remember, you can pause them and look at them and find all the words and the ampersands and everything. All right, you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.